there, all you viewer-type peoples! Guess what day it is that I'm posting this on? Or just before... Guess what day this video is supposed to commemorate? It's our 2-year anniversary! 2 years. That's a long time. And maybe I haven't done as much during that time as I would have wanted, but I've kept true to my standards in at least one regard. I've kept up on the anniversary episodes. Of course, for my first anniversary, I made a sandwich, but there were reasons. At any rate, this year features what I had planned for it to feature from the beginning: the continuing adventures of The Flag! Now, for those of you who have yet to see The Flag, and don't forget to pronounce the he featured in my very first episode, which I've linked to down below. You can check it out when you've got the time. All you really need to know about him here, though, is that his real name is Jim Courtney, adopted son of one John Courtney the Flagmaker, otherwise known to all and sundry as Old Glory, and that he's got a magic flag button on his chest that turns him into The Flag, who can fly and punch things and do all the other stuff you'd expect. There's not much more to him than that, but believe me, that's enough. Well, our story technically begins with a great big splash panel. All it really does is tell you all the stuff about The Flag that I've already told you, so we'll skip it. Instead, let's cut to panel number 2, where we meet 3 dubious-looking characters who, as they are clearly color-coded for our convenience, I shall dub Oscar, Elmo, and Cookie Monster.
There's the job of that flag maker known as Old Glory. The fact that he's known as Old Glory has nothing to do with anything. I just thought I would throw it in as a bit of interesting local trivia. While I'm at it, I would draw your attention to that sandwich shop across the street, which...
Stuff it, Cookie Monster!
Double stuff!
I don't know why I keep talking to you!
So Oscar decides that they'll give the old buzzard a break, and they enter his shop, where he is hard at work.
Morning, gentlemen. What can I do for you?
We're from the Daily Clarion. Our paper planning to hold a rally, and we need a big American flag to give it a patriotic front.
We want the cheapest flag you can make. We don't care if it's cheesecloth, as long as it doesn't cost much.
Now, considering that A, he specifies that they want a big flag, which naturally would cost more, and B, they presumably will only be using it once, this strikes me as an admirable and sensible example of thrift. But Old Glory has a different perspective.
You've come to the wrong place. I don't make cheap flags. I only make expensive flags that will cost you every nickel plus your last gold filling. The American flag is the most beautiful in the world. It deserves nothing but the best of materials. You should be ashamed to make such a request. You'll get a flag made from silk and diamonds, and you will like it, you wastrels.
Now, if at this point the Muppets 3 had simply left, they would have saved themselves a lot of trouble. But no, they had to get polemic.
Read this, old fella, if you think America is so wonderful. The Clarion here tells the truth.
America too weak to fight. Must stay out of European affairs to be safe. Read the Clarion's amazing and exclusive expose of America's military weakness. We can't dare to fight.
I'm sure that Old Glory will receive this alternate opinion with nothing but calm equanimity.
This paper is just lying propaganda.
Or not.
Get out of my shop! Get out, you fools! I'll have no propaganda here! America is pure and perfect, and we always win, and we do not hold with propaganda!
So off run the Muppets 3, and so ticked off is Old Glory at the contents of their newspaper that he decides to visit it himself.
A half hour later at the office of the Clarion.
Here's our phony patriot they call Old Glory. Wonder what he wants.
Does everybody know who Old Glory is? I mean, yeah, he's got an interesting nickname that suits his profession, so it makes sense that people know about him. But if I were an otherwise unremarkable cheesemaker named Rofort McChedderington, I guarantee you that random strangers wouldn't exclaim, "Look, there goes Rofort McChedderington!" when I walked down the street. That's not how things work! Is Old Glory just so patriotic that he broadcasts patriotism wherever he goes, and that's how people know him? I'm honestly not sure how Rofort McChedderington could compete with that. A cheese-patterned suit, perhaps? Anyway, Old Glory says he's here to see the editor and spends what is doubtless a fair amount of time lecturing him on how they're wrecking people's faith in America and so on and so forth. The editor, however, isn't buying it.
Listen, guy, we print what we choose. Scram!
For which we are clearly supposed to hate him. But you know what? I actually don't, really. I mean, goodness knows it's a proud tradition for people to complain to the editor, but you know how they normally do it? Write a letter! Don't just show up and give him a speech. He's a busy man. He's got a newspaper to run. So far as that goes, I'm completely behind him. It's just kind of a shame that he immediately ruins that goodwill by ordering Old Glory tossed out downstairs. As it happens, though, Old Glory did attract at least one sympathetic ear, that of Sally Blair, the Clarion's Saba Sister. She tries to stand up for him, and when they toss him out anyway, she decides that working alongside the kind of people who would hurl an old man in a wheelchair down a flight of stairs is not really what she wants to do anymore, and quits on the spot. One wonders, therefore, why she took the job in the first place, but never mind.
I don't know. It's a mystery.
So she helps Old Glory up and takes him home, in the process revealing that the Clarion is just one of a whole chain of newspapers owned by one Herman Foxon, who is using his newspapers for a program to break up America's defense program. And you know this how exactly? I mean, just to put this into context, here's what a Saba Sister actually does. She writes human interest stories with sentimental appeal. That's it. As reporters go, she is very low on the totem pole. Not, in other words, someone who would normally be aware of something so large-scale and probably illegal. Is this just part of working at the Clarion, and you get told all about it on day one? Okay, kid, welcome to the wonderful world of print journalism. Expecting great things from you. Here's your press pass. Your desk is over there, and here's a pamphlet going into detail about the evil campaign of anti-American wrongness that you're now part of. Wait, what?
Shut up and start getting me some evil news!
Anyway, if that pamphlet theory is anything to go by, it must be a pretty comprehensive one, because Sally says that she knows much more, and that she wishes she could get in touch with the Flag so she could tell him about it. What follows next is pure insanity.
Maybe you can, Miss Sally, maybe you can. I've heard tell that if any true patriot really needs the services of the Flag, all they need to do is whistle a few bars of the national anthem. You ought to try that.
I do not know where to start with this. There is no logic. There is no logic! Well, the first and least place I can think of to start would be, hey, I don't remember that being on the list of features included with every The Flag. But let's assume it was, and Ghost Washington just forgot to tell us about it last time. That being said, where are the guidelines here? Because they are needed. Boy, are they needed! I mean, we're talking pretty wide-open terms here, and without guidelines, this power is basically designed to plunge Jim Courtney's life into never-ending torment. Just imagine.
I am here, citizen. What help do you require? Oh, the Flag! I slipped on a patch of ice! I'm here, citizen. What seems to be the problem? Oh, the Flag! Thank goodness I can't figure out this crossword puzzle.
Here I am, citizen. How can I help?
Oh, the Flag! This banana is unripe!
What?
There's a mouse!
I suppose if there are qualifiers, though, Sally fits them, because while Old Glory is telling Jim all about his visit to the newspaper, she decides to give whistling a try, and at that moment...
Jim, the Flag birthmark on your chest is glowing.
Another handy designed feature, guaranteed to do away with pesky secret identities. Seriously, who designed this thing? It just invites one catastrophe after another. Dad, I can see that girl you told me about. She wants me to come to her.
Instantly, Jim becomes the Flag. There he goes. And some people won't believe he exists.
They won't? Why won't they? He single-handedly saved America from invasion by Nazis while wearing a bright red suit. It's not like he's been playing coy. In any case, Sally whistled just in time because following her resignation from the Clarion, the editor gave instructions to take care of her because she knows too much. which translates to him sending Elmo and Cookie Monster to bump her off.
A cute little dame, sort of ashamed to kill you, but no one quits the Clarion these days and lives.
Nobody? Not even, like, the janitor or a copy boy or... You know what, there are enough nits to pick in this comic to swamp me if I'm not careful, so I'll just let this one go.
Relentlessly, pitilessly, the murderer's finger muscles contract around the trigger of the deadly automatic.
When suddenly...
Mind if I cut in, gentlemen? Enter the flag, and as always, just in the nick of time!
Seriously, I think some of these heroes have their watches set specifically to the nick.
Run! I've heard about this guy! He can't be licked!
Well, that's unusually sensible behavior, Elmo, considering that the usual ethos amongst those of your profession seems to be keep firing, maybe we'll get lucky. Shame it doesn't pay off for them, though, as hoods of their type are such small fry to the flag that they barely even register through a microscope. Now, Miss Blair, let's get out of here and have a talk. Your place is kind of littered up. Sorry to have had to crash through your window that way. The ones that tried to kill you? What, these guys? No. Crooks are kind of like dirty laundry. You leave it in a pile and it takes care of itself. Well, yes, all right. I probably should be taking care of that sort of thing for myself by now. But, you know, I live with my dad and... Hey, you hungry? Sandwiches on me! Sally Blair tells the flag her story.
Not only that, but the editor, Kegel, is an escaped bank robber wanted by the police.
Are you kidding me? Look, I know I said I'd cut down on the nitpicks, but this is just a step too far. Several steps, a giant leap, and not for mankind.
Possibly for goblin or demon kind, or some other kind of kind. Not man, though.
Look, I can buy that the Clarion is a subversive paper that specializes in yellow journalism. It's rotten to the core, I get it, but it's still a newspaper that people read and know about and are aware of, and people includes the cops. And the man in charge is a bank robber? If his own staff is aware of that, there's no way he could keep it secret from the law. They yank him out of there in like half a day. Also, how is a bank robber qualified for that job in the first place? Did he minor in journalism or something?
We can't have men like that running newspapers, Sally.
No kidding.
The flag.
So, yeah, obviously this is an untenable situation, so our master of the obvious says that Sally should call the cops.
Gosh, yes! Why didn't, I don't know, everyone think of that?
While he the flags and goes to the library to get some dirt on this Foxen character. Naturally, the cops are very interested to learn about Kegel and send out a squad car right away.
We're looking for a guy named Kegel.
Well, you haven't found him. Not if that's the editor, because Old Glory was just in there wanting to talk to the editor, and that most certainly isn't him. Not unless he's bulked up by about 50 pounds, shaved his head, gotten plastic surgery, and started wearing contacts, and changed clothes in roughly half an hour.
All right, Kurt Kegel, we have a warrant for your arrest. Just come quietly. Why, certainly, boys.
Oh, that'll help. So, naturally, Kegel realizes that he's made a boo-boo, and he rings up Foxen at his headquarters, somewhere called Midwest City, and yowls for help. What does he do now?
Keep putting out the paper. Nothing is to stop you. You have all the equipment there to defend the plant. Use it. The time has come.
Oh, I think there's quite a lot there to stop you, but let's see how this pans out. So Kegel tells his thugs that the jig is up and it's time to lock and load. Incidentally, there's the guy Old Glory saw earlier, so maybe he's the decoy editor. And they promptly start breaking out the heavy artillery.
This place is a fortress and an arsenal. Let's see him try to stop us putting out this paper.
Great sweet fat mother of Marmaduke, this is not how a newspaper works.
After searching through files of information, Jim leaves the library.
And what has he learned there? Basically, that Herman Foxen is rich and powerful and influential, which we more or less already knew, so whatever. Anyway, he's quickly distracted from this information.
Boy, oh boy, what a load of cops. Something pretty serious must have happened.
He ain't just whistling Dixie, something serious has happened. As he learns from a passing urchin, just about everything serious has happened. The Clarion building is in an epic shootout with, like, all the cops, who aren't making much headway because the place is more secure than one of those bunkers they hide the president in when aliens invade. The walls are lined with grenade-proof steel, and as a random hood remarks, they can
hold them at bay for months.
Yes, I'm sure you can. I'd like to know how you could put out a newspaper, though. I mean, even if you're putting out 50 editions a day, no one besides you can possibly read them if you can't even open the door. Are you planning to launch some out with rockets? It doesn't much matter, though, because here comes the Flag, and armor plating barely slows him down. He breaks his way in, mops up Kegel and the rest of the Muppet Brigade, wrecks the printing presses, and you'd think that would be that. Nope.
Out in Midwest City at the Great Master Motors plant, you say that in different parts of the country the Veterans Legion is trying to stop our trucks delivering papers? I'll put a stop to that. You say the thing you just said to me is in fact the thing you just told me, which I am now saying back to you? I just want to make sure we're communicating properly.
Cut to
sometime later in a nearby
city, where members of said legion are waiting by a newsstand to intercept the papers in question.
The government asked the local newspaper to stop giving away military secrets and printing anti-American lies, but it made no impression. So we of the Veterans Legion are taking the law into our own hands.
No impression, huh? Military secrets. During a war. Goodness knows I'm no expert, but is that not what they call treason, which is rather frowned upon by, just as a random example, everybody? I mean, unless Foxon has the most brilliant lawyers in existence on his side, the government doesn't need to have made an impression. Tossing him in the hoosegow and throwing away the key kind of does that on its own. So then an armored car shows up with the papers, opens fire on the Legion, and drives off. As you do.
In other cities all over the country, the same thing is happening.
Okay, this is lunacy. I'm willing to suspend my disbelief to a certain extent, but this is just straight up banana sauce. Let's leave aside the legal aspects of all this, and that is pretty difficult, let me tell you, and focus on that wise old adage about leading a horse to water. Foxon is devoted to the spreading of misinformation. Yes, but information, mis or not, cannot be spread if no one is willing to listen, and who in the name of Thoth is seriously going to even consider this guy's position when it's being delivered to them via the public slaughtering of innocents? Nobody! Nobody at all! Rivers of blood are flowing through the streets, and all for nothing! It's not only hideous, it's pointless! Also, I bet their comic section is lousy. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, or rather, the Clarion, the Flag has wrapped things up nicely, and having handed Kegel over to the cops, he zips off to have a talk with Herman Foxon. But it's a long journey, and on the way he sees another situation that demands his particular talents. It's the armored fleet delivering Foxon's papers. His are the only papers he'll allow on the stands. He's become a dictator! I think that requires another step or two, or possibly 5.
That sort of thing can't go on in the United States!
It can happen here.
At this point, the newspaper goons start roughing up a blind news vendor for not towing the line. Yes, they're evil! We get it already! Thank you!
Please! How can I make a living? It's not fair!
It's not fair! How can I sell newspapers that nobody wants to buy? It's a contradiction in terms! Well, we all know what happens next. The Flag beats the knaves full score and then continues on his way. Sorry I couldn't stay and give you each a personal treatment. I do great facials.
Avocado, ginger, and pressed jasmine makes your skin all smooth and creamy. Speeding onward, the Flag soon reaches his destination in Midwest City. I wish to see Mr. Foxon.
He ain't saying nobody today, fancy pants, and no hanging around. Beat it!
Foxon's having a visitor, my friend. I'm going in.
And I say you're not, screwball, just because you're decked out like that nut, the Flag.
I am the Flag, stupid.
Why are you dressed up like Batman?
Because he is Batman, you moron.
Darned if he ain't! So the final showdown is at last upon us as the Flag makes his way to Foxon's office, where the fellow in question is gloating over his success.
Repetition of lies, that's what does it. If my papers keep telling the people that our government is no good and the country too weak to resist, they'll come to believe it.
Yes, fair enough, that tactic has worked before, but not really the way you're doing it. But does Foxon care? No, he's following an example.
That's the way Hitler does it, and that's the way I'm going to do it. I'm too powerful to be stopped. It will soon be Herman Foxen, dictator of America.
Well, naturally, the flag isn't having any of that. So that's your plan, eh, Foxen? Well, it won't work over here.
Help! Don't hurt me. I'm a good man. I'll treat my employees well.
Sure, because they're all traitors like you. Here we go again. Another day. Another can. Yes, it is undoubtedly true that Foxen's employees have not exactly come across as the nicest people in the world so far. In fact, they've come off as thugs. However, they're not all thugs. They can't be! Thugs don't write newspapers! Take the example of Sally Blair, a perfectly innocent journalist who got mixed up with bad people. In a scheme involving dozens, if not hundreds of papers, there must be truckloads of Sallys involved. You can't blame them for that. They're surrounded by hoodlums with guns, and we saw what happens when someone tries to quit. The flag, you self-righteous, sanctimonious jerkwad! Okay, get it together, WEGAF. You've got an episode to finish. So Herman Foxen's dreams of glory are basically kaput, but he still has one last tactic up his sleeve.
Save me from this madman! I'll pay you all bonuses! I'll give them bonuses! There's your bonus in mahogany!
I just killed 3 unarmed men by crushing them under a large wooden object. Ha ha! I am so witty! Oh, ho, ho, ho. So with all that taken care of, the flag puts Foxen out of the way for a minute, and then takes a quick look around for any other little plans he might have prepared. And what does he have? Planes! Planes loaded with bombs! Lots and lots of planes loaded with bombs. And just to make sure we understand how very subtle all this is, they're even marked with swastikas. You know, I would think this would all kind of preclude the whole newspaper business. I mean, clearly our boy Foxy is extremely lousy at the whole making the general public trust and believe in him tactic, so if his endgame involves bombing the country into submission anyway, why not just start with that? The point is moot anyway, since, as we've seen before, the flag has a special way with planes, and these ones aren't even in the air yet. So all he has to do is grab a couple of bombs and, well, you can probably guess the rest.
There's only one way to get rid of rats. Destroy their nest. The bombs strike and Foxen and his plant are destroyed, just as he had planned to destroy America.
Evidence? Due process? Collateral damage? Nah, splody things is cool. They go boom! So that, finally, is that. And we cut to a week later at the, presumably extensively rebuilt, Clarion, where Old Glory and Jim are congratulating Sally, who's been rehired as managing editor by the paper's new owner. I am actually kind of glad about that. Out of all the people in this comic, she's probably the only one who fully deserves a happy ending. Yes, and all thanks to the flag! How I wish I could thank him!
Oh, it was nothing at all.
Ouch! What did you say?
Oh, Jim just said that it's good to read headlines like this once more. Yes, that's what he said, no doubt about it, no doubt at all. It sounded like something completely different, but after all, that would just be silly, now wouldn't it? Keep smiling, boy. I think she's buying it.
So, to wrap things up, patriotic is a synonym for expensive. Grievances regarding one's local paper should not be expressed in person, especially if one already knows that the paper is staffed by hoodlums. Knowing one's limits is a wise practice when dealing with superheroes. When attempting to overthrow a country, sometimes it is better simply to cut to the chase, and don't try to emulate Hitler because he was a naughty boy and you'll just get blown up for it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I want to try something. Well, that wasn't quite what I'd expected. Happy anniversary!